All right. So you're good whenever you want to go. The timer is good and you're good to go.
What's up, guys? Jake Shields here. Just sitting down to interview Elijah Schaffer. You're one of the few journalists I've followed for 3 or 4 years. You do great work, independent journalist. I think originally you started out mainstream, right?
Yeah, a little too mainstream. Fox News, everything.
Oh,
Tucker
wow.
Carlson, the good stuff. Yeah.
Wait, you were with Tucker?
Well, we did a movie together. We did a documentary. Would go on his show, go on Fox. Sort of like was hired because I was from LA and people thought I was like this little like twink or something. Had blonde hair and piercings, and so they were like, oh, and they all thought I was Jewish too because my last name Schaffer. Yeah, a gay Jewish guy from LA. He's like, let's put him on TV. So that's basically how I started.
So how long were you working with Tucker for? A while?
Oh, well, I didn't work directly with him, but I worked with Blaze TV. So it's like another like Daily Wire or whatever, one of these like news outlets. It's Glenn Beck's thing. And sort of it was like there was not a lot of competition during that time. I guess back in like 2018, 2017, podcasting was sort of seen as being like this super lame thing to do. And journalism, everybody hates journalists. I mean, journalists fucking suck, right?
For the most part, yeah. I hate most journalists.
Yeah.
You're one of the few that I follow.
Well, I mean, I've looked in the
they
mirror.
deserve the hate.
I look in the mirror sometimes and I'm like, yeah, we are terrible. But no, but yes, I started working there. And basically, I mean, I don't know how deep you want to go on this, but I kind of got into it by accident because I was working sort of in biology and I was kind of going to grad school and working towards becoming like a professor. I was thinking about maybe becoming a DO. And then this sort of fell into my lap. So
yeah, I think that happens a lot in life. Same with fighting, just kind of fell in your lap. But were you in California or where did this take place?
Yeah, it took place in California, man. Because I think maybe you know about this too, because you're from California too, right?
Yeah, San Francisco.
So you're like the other end of the ass, right? You're up at the top. I was down in LA, and so like you see it's so like the Hunger Games or something, where you have like your district and it's really nice, but when you go out of it, there's something really wrong. It's sort of like a romantically and poetically beautiful demonic cities,
Yeah, it's really sad, especially like San Francisco. I was there for 20 years and the way San Francisco was, it always had a couple bad areas, but they were really contained to small areas. But slowly over like last 10 years, it just started spreading out and people just smoking crack. If you haven't been there, people they don't understand the depravity of it. It's just absolutely insane. People smoking crack on the street, shooting up meth, fentanyl, just falling around, stumbling, and it's completely left alone.
And that's
Crime.
just the mayor and the city council, right? Now when we start talking about the transients, it's like, that's a whole nother level. I mean, genuinely, we would, me and my friend, have you heard of him, Austin Fleccas?
I don't think so.
You should check him out. He's got the greatest podcast of all time. It's brand new. And he's killing it. And we realized things were messed up when he lived by Skid Row, right? And you're still paying, this is back in like 2018, paying like around $3,000 for a studio apartment, in Skid Row. And we would walk out and have this game where you get a certain amount of points for human shit. But we eventually had to stop doing that because there was just too much going on. And like, we would have to have like a buddy system. Like, yo, watch out, because we want one of us to be talking and have to like point out where the feces was. And then we also had a point system that had where you could get points for finding a dead body. But like, nowhere in there did we think about like you have to call the police. We were worried about getting points.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of in a backwards city when dead people on the road, literally people dying, is a game. And you're like, oh, could you like not die here? Because I'm trying to get a Starbucks, please. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in San Francisco, they literally have it's an app, it's a poop map where people put human shit. They mark it on there. And as far as police, the police like they don't come. I called the police twice in San Francisco when I would I detained criminals. One was a drunk person that crashed into my car. Another was a person that was breaking into my car, burglary. Both times, I held people there for like an hour waiting for the cops. The cop never came. So it's like, okay, I guess I'll just let these criminals go. Yeah,
they actually, in LA, I mean, some funny stories if you want to go down that road. I lived in Hollywood, like on Yucca Street. I don't know if you know that. It's like right off the main Walk of Fame. And I took my wife, before we were married, from Brisbane area, like the Queensland, right? This is like an all-white area, especially 7 years ago. This is clean. It's where the crocodile hunter's from. And I'm like, come to LA. It's glamorous. I like tricked her, right? And then she came and she was like, the first like day she got there, we hear some like massive screams. There's like blood curdling. It's like, ah! And like that didn't like strike me weird. I was like, oh,
it's normal.
That's Rob having a normal one, And then the police are there and everything, and there was a human trafficking case because this girl was abducted from the apartment complex right on the steps. And I don't know what's more sad, the fact that a girl got abducted and is probably being human trafficked, or the fact that I grew up there, so it didn't even register in my brain as like being a problem. It's like, oh yeah, eventually they get us, one time it just happens.
Yeah, it's interesting you say, because I mean, sometimes friends that aren't from there, they would come and visit, like my mom or something,
Mm-hmm.
and they would just be like shook about like, there's like, oh, there's a dead guy in the ground right there, and you're like, nah, I think he's just OD'd on fentanyl. He might be alive, and they're like in shock. Should we call something? And everyone's just walking by him like all over
Yeah.
the streets, because you get so used to just seeing absolute filth and disgust that it's normal, but you bring someone that's not used to it, they're just like in shock and don't know how to react.
Shocked, right? And I think that's the weird part about how you become jaded. I mean, part of that's probably being a man and the masculine nature, like the testosterone of sort of, I guess, biologically being able to become adjusted to environments. Because girls obviously have that soft nature, right? Like the main value of women really truly is their sexual nature, right? It's their identity, it's their body and their purity. So they sort of have this, this beauty and purity together. And I don't think that really fits in with a city like that, which is why the girls in cities are always what? They're fake. They got filler and fake tits and everything, because you can't really be a natural, beautiful girl in a city because it's not built to sustain like actual quality humans.
No, that dark energy is not, it's not good for anyone, but particularly women, because they're much more empathetic generally.
Well, it corrupts them.
Yeah, it's corrupts. It's not good. Just being around that filth every day. And for me, it's crazy. You get used to it. But when I moved, I go back there and I'm like, I'm in shock now. I'm like, I used to live here. You just get used to it, I guess. They slowly just decay it and it becomes normal. And you start thinking it's normal. You walk out, your window's knocked out. You think it's like, oh, not a big deal. My window got knocked out again and someone robbed my car. You call it, the cops won't come. Cops literally won't come and do a report. So it just becomes normal.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is the backwards part about it is you actually don't know how bad it is when it's happening. And I think the best example of this is my wife and I, we tried to like, do things conservatively or whatever when we were dating. And she saw multiple homeless guys just jerking off, black guys, unfortunately bigger dicks than me. So now it's a competition, right? It's like, all right, she hasn't seen mine. Now she's seeing these giant stallions. And man, I mean, look, it's like, I'm not going to challenge a black guy in that competition or in basketball, right? There's a few things I'm going to challenge a black guy in. And I'm thinking like, wow, my fiance saw 2 black cocks before she saw mine. This is probably not the right place to raise a family. And that's when I realized I'm actually retarded, because why would you even bring a woman into that environment? But for me, I think it's not just the city though, man. Like this is sort of like the interesting aspect. I was super, I still have a California voice, right? I had that atrazine, the soy water, right? I used to like eat like vegan foods. I know that's not a thing. I know you're into that, but like I'm saying
vegetarian, not vegan.
All right, but it wasn't vegan for the reasons you are. It was like vegan because it was hip and cool, right? And then on top of that, it's like a super metrosexual. I had piercings and I'm covered in tattoos and they're disgusting. And like my hair was platinum blonde, I had a septum ring on and stretchers and everything. And it's like, and I look back at that and you're like, wow, what a. But at the same time, that's what I try to tell people is like, you don't understand when you're living in LA or living in those places and you're not accustomed, you're not living in, Kentucky or you're not living in a red state. You actually do not even know how fucked up you are. You don't realize, because everyone around you looks like that, acts like that, and talks like that. And if you don't have hepatitis C or HIV by the time you're 22, you're doing better than half the city. So there's no litmus test, right? To know if you're weird.
No, it's true. It's like you get used to it. You think, oh, someone's jerking off. And don't get me wrong, I never thought that's normal. That would piss me off. I smacked a guy with a beer bottle once. Luckily, I didn't get caught. I'd probably get hit with the charge of a hate crime.
Yeah, but you'd go to jail.
He was black. I'd probably be charged with a hate crime. Dude was just jerking off in the street, and I whacked him with my Corona and just kept moving. Didn't want to touch him, obviously. It was disgusting. I was just, what the fuck's dude doing jerking off in the street? They do it like on the trains and stuff in San Francisco, the BART train.
Yeah.
Dudes come in and start jerking off in front of girls. It's absolutely disgusting. And again, it's one of those things that's ignored by the police. They're just like, whatever, we don't care. That should be like a serious crime, but dudes just jerking off on trains.
Well, and I mean, it should be a serious crime, but I I remember my car insurance messaged me that they were no longer insuring my car against random homeless encampment fires or any meth explosions. This is a real deal, right? And I was like, and the thing was, the average person would read that and be like, well, that's dumb. That's like telling me you're going to take the death crystals out of my tires. Like, I don't even know what a death crystal is, and I never had it. But for me, that was actually really serious. I was like, babe, you can't protect our cars, because I was late for church and there was a homeless encampment fire. There was a recent one under the 110 that just made the bridge inoperative, but it was blocking the exit. And I was thinking like, what is even the point of my faith? Is if I have to like dodge like dying and decaying homeless people in encampments to like get to my church, should I put out the fire and like help the dying addicts? or should I go to church? Like, what's the more like Christian thing to do? I was a little bit of a better. Life hit me in the last few years, right? I realized you can't be weak and you can't be a bitch, but that's another story. But it's like, you're like, I don't think I should be making this decision at like 9 a.m. on whether or not to get involved. And they don't do anything. The law enforcement, the fire department, they're just overwhelmed. And the worst part about it all, man, is you're paying the most premium taxes of anyone. Like the most, it's like 50%.
Well, California has a 13% state tax on top of it, the highest in the country.
They're upping it. You heard that? They're trying to get up to 16.
So you're paying 16% extra and you get nothing, just filth. You get illegal immigrants, you get homeless. They spend like, I don't forget what the exact number is, like $1 billion a year or something homeless in San Francisco. And the more they spend, the worse it gets. It just gets, it's about to make money. It's not about fixing the problem.
Do you know what the solution is?
Round them up.
Well, no, we need to let them starve to death because we need to stop feeding homeless people. That's a number one solution. Because I don't, before anyone judges me as being like absolutely maniacal, I used to lead a homeless feeding ministry. Okay. So listen to me. Okay. I'm not cold-hearted. Yeah. I'm just ready for the Fourth Reich. No, I'm kidding.
Real quick, I think people that aren't from California, they don't understand when you say homeless, they think of someone down the luck. The people we're dealing with are these deranged, aggressive drug addicts that constantly stealing, attacking people, attacking women, breaking things.
Professional miscreants.
They're like shitting on the street. They're just like, they make you hate homeless people. They're disgusting, vile people.
They're mercenary hooligans, right? Like it's like they're like for hire and they live off of your money. And it's like, we need to stop feeding them because I used to go down to Skid Row and I would feed people and then they would take the food and they would like throw it in the street and pull out what they wanted. And they weren't even grateful for it.
Yeah, they'll get mad sometimes you give them food. They'll like yell at you. I want money, not food.
And give me, I was like, and one of them, the guy said, give me your shirt. So I gave it to him thinking I was doing like the right thing. Like, yeah, here you go. And then like the dude spit on me. So, I had to go I was having to get STD tested while helping homeless people. And like, I got weird with it. Like I was trying to like do the whole Jesus thing. Like I like, like somebody who said he couldn't walk. So I like got into the tent with them. And then I go in there and there's like 3 kids inside. I called the police because I didn't know why they were there. And then he claimed that they were his kids. And I didn't know what was happening.
Take those kids away if they are.
But like, what are like 3 kids living on the streets in LA?
Drugged out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I recommend though, everyone in San Francisco, my friends all develop a good like teep kick or front kick. So if a homeless guy comes from you, you could just do the front kicks. You don't want to touch them because they're like disgusting and disease. Because you could just keep them before they can reach you.
Yeah. And I think the starving them, it's like, why are we, we're like thermal beings and it requires input for have output. Now, if your output is terrible and it's ruining us, why are we voluntarily giving you input? I don't know if you saw, but they even like built them houses recently.
Yeah, it's literally destroying California society. My solution would be, I'd round them up and arrest them all, and I'd be like, you have not quite as bad. You have, I'd be really nicely like, you have 2 choices. We're going to send you into rehab. We'll help you out, pay rehab and help you get a job, or we'll send you into this contained area and give you as much free fentanyl and crack as you want.
Let's give the blacks their own country and then put them there.
Well, most will take the free.
I mean, it's a joke.
Black nationalists.
Yeah,
I think most of these guys would take the free fentanyl and they would handle themselves. But don't get any Narcan in there. Let them take care of themselves.
Dude, that's the other one. Stop reviving.
Stop reviving them. I have friends who are firefighters. They say they revive the same guy like 50 times in a year. They get called and they're just like, oh my God, I got to revive this guy again. Can I just freaking let him die?
Well, and it's not even racial because, the homeless down south are mostly black, but up north they're white. There's a lot of white people.
It's very mixed in San Francisco. It's not very, there's black and white, very mixed, and they're all just complete.
They're young too. Like a lot of the people are young fentanyl addicts. But here's like, okay, this is what they say, right? There's 2 ways out of this shit we're in. Okay. One, it's going to be a big war. A lot of blood's going to be spilled, and we might not make it. 2, the other option is we're a little mean to some people, and we say no to women sometimes. Okay, so that's like your 2 options out of this. I'm going to go with numero dos for all my Hispanics out there.
I'm definitely with you.
Just tell them no and do the right thing, and just be like, hey, you can't have professional drug addicts. You can be professional in anything, but like you said, you've got to offer them. Like this is where you can make
them free fentanyl. Let them no Narcan. Let them handle themselves. Offer them rehab first. Offer them rehab first and say no. Okay, we'll put you in containment zone. We'll give you fentanyl,
put in their burgers,
as much fentanyl as you want. Here you go.
Free food with fentanyl
give them
included.
Some really good strong fentanyl.
They'll sign waivers too, like at a fireworks stand or something.
That's not inhumane. I don't think they would handle themselves if they do it themselves. That's on them.
Dude, you know what? It's until you step into human poop or like they dump diarrhea on you, then you will agree with us on this. But also, look, and this is where we could differentiate between the homeless and the transient. Is you give them a real shot out. You go, hey, we have this max fund of money. We'll help you get a job. We'll get you into rehab. We'll do this whole thing. And if you don't do this, then we actually do a Hunger Games and we make them fight on live television.
That would actually be more fun than my idea. That's you have a better idea than me. We'll put them on an island and let them fight.
Yeah,
they fight, or they drop the fentanyl and crack, and just fentanyl crack drops.
It's like Hunger Games.
I think another problem is fentanyl and the meth and stuff are way cheaper than they used to be because all the good meth is coming up from Mexico, so it's super cheap, and the fentanyl is way cheaper than the OxyContin. So these drugs are way cheaper. So these guys can get high in like $20 a day. Before it was hundreds of dollars a day.
Do you know how much drugs are in Australia? I was just living there. Like a gram of coke's like $500.
What?
$500.
There is some good coke. It's probably garbage too.
I wouldn't know. Well, yeah, I wouldn't know either. I almost said it's garbage, but like
allegedly it's garbage.
Yeah, allegedly it's not good. No, but the coke is like $500. I mean, if you're on a good day, it's like $375, $400. But anywhere else could be more. And it's like. That's the crazy, but people are still doing it. Everyone's doing blow out there. Those freaking Australians. They're still white people love cocaine.
White people love cocaine. I don't know girls particularly. White girls love cocaine
because it makes you freaky sexually. I think it's like they make the joke with girls like, oh, one shot, and they're like, I'm bisexual. It's like yeah, but like a couple lines of cocaine and they're like into group sex and shit. Like they're getting crazy.
Like the opposite. It's like hard to do anything.
Yeah, all of a sudden, allegedly, there's whiskey dick. And then there's like cocaine flaccidity or something. I don't know what it is, but all of a sudden you have like a micro penis.
And 3 girls in your room, and allegedly
3 girls in your room. A few of them cost $300, and you're out. Now you got $600 and a flaccid dick. It's you know what? And that's allegedly according to scientific research on COVID expert Dr. Peter Hotez once wrote a paper during COVID. No, but it's like that's actually with the drugs and everything. That is a problem. The fentanyl is cheap, and people are able to get it. And I feel like when I got into drugs, I don't know if that's like a great entrance to that, but when I got into drugs, I sort of like just like went straight into ecstasy.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. When I got into drugs, it was like ecstasy was sort of off the streets from like 2002 to 2007. They cracked down on a couple of the compounds and the import.
Got harder to get, yeah.
Yeah, it got harder to get for about 5 years there. And then for some reason, there became like this massive import into LA. And into San Francisco, this new like importing technique. A lot of it had to do with the use of Bitcoin and stuff in cryptocurrencies. So they could transfer money and sell without laundering.
Sell online.
And so I started working as a drug mule, in high school, right? With like, and I got some girls to put the drugs, like, 300 like boats of pills in their bras and then transport them from like pickup centers. And so this is like, I started getting the drugs for free, and I'm not like a big druggie, but I started getting the pills for free, and they were like really good because, this is before, you would just get good stuff. And so I did ecstasy for a lot of years, and I felt like it was great. But then when I found out how much ecstasy is, if you're in high school, $20 a pill or whatever is going to be a lot of money. But when you get it for free, that's the problem. I think a lot of people are getting this shit, not just for free, but like, that's why everyone's got hep and HIV. I think the girls are like sucking, fucking. And,
girls are usually getting drugs for free.
Yeah, but I mean like they're just doing shit and then they're sharing needles and it's not good. But I think the fentanyl crisis really comes down to availability. It's cheap and easily accessible.
Yeah, it's just too cheap, and it's also in a lot of recreational drugs now. It gets put like in cocaine, other drugs.
Why?
So a ton of I think because it's so cheap, it gets people high. So there's a ton of ODs from like taking drugs, and they don't think it's fentanyl. People will OD. Like I have a friend OD doing that, did something, and it turned out it was fentanyl in it.
He died.
Yeah, so anyone doing drugs better be really careful nowadays. It's not like when we were kids.
Yeah, I feel like that's okay. I shouldn't say that's why I'm not doing cocaine anymore. But like, I feel like that's like the main reason. That's like one of the main reasons why I feel like people should be careful about their drugs is because there's kind of no point to be doing. There's no point to take that risk, man. You don't want your family to come in and see whether you're a son or you're a daughter. Man, it's probably mostly men watching this. But even if you're like a son or a husband, like the last thing you want, man, is to find your wife or your mom or somebody to find your girlfriend, find you slumped over. Why? Because you couldn't cope with your life. You had to you couldn't cope with your anger. And we all get fucking pissed off, man. We, all of our heads feel like they're going to explode sometimes. And what? You couldn't just figure it out some other way. Go jerk off or something, you fucking moron. Like, I don't know, go do something, right? If you got to get the energy out. But the whole like idea of this fentanyl thing, I mean, it's killing like over 100,000 people a year. Yeah.
And not even talked about like 100,000 years. It's insane, those numbers. And mostly young people too. Just get wiped
mostly
out.
White.
And we just ignore it. It's a sad epidemic coming through Mexico, I guess. It's just
why do we call it an epidemic when it's like, it's more like a genocide, right? It's like a white genocide.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like, we don't even stop hearing about George,
George Floyd, Saint Floyd,
yeah,
the criminal.
Saint Floyd of fentanyl,
Yeah.
like, but like, it's like, but then at the same time, it's like he died from a fentanyl overdose. So
Yeah, like me, I'm one of the world's best choke experts, and I can tell you he was not choked. His defense didn't even bring any witnesses to talk about how you choke someone. You choke someone by going the carotid arteries, which are right here in the front. His knee was on the back of the neck. Absolutely impossible to choke there.
You know what? So that's my thing with the Floyd thing was set up. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the interesting things. Like, people that are not familiar with my work, good. You probably are a better person than me then. And you probably have a life. But it is really interesting because I spent a lot of time, and I think I spent a lot of time working on the ground with BLM during that time and with the group Antifa. And I think to kind of set like the interesting stage, it really prepped me for COVID because at the time that I was integrating, and when I say integrating, I mean like I was full on like undercover. I was rioting.
Were you
with the
hanging
people.
out with Antifa guys?
Like I was rioting. I was holding their shield.
You could easily blend in with left wing.
Yeah. I was like, oh, here's a little lispy queer, whatever. And so like, so you go in there, but at the time, that's when they were still saying Antifa was fake or it wasn't real. It was an idea.
It's very real.
Right. So like, but during that time, if people weren't, maybe you weren't red pilled during that time, not you, but maybe people weren't, and you don't know this. Antifa's almost like, oh yeah, everybody knows what Antifa is. But during that time, this was like a terrorist militant group that was sieging cities. And not only did the media not want to report on it, but the media would say that it was fake. So much to the fact is that when I was, when the George Floyd riots started, I was in Dallas that night. I had just moved to Dallas. And that's when all the riots kicked off. And that was one of the first George Floyd riots, other than in Minneapolis, was in Dallas. It was right at the beginning. I think it was like day numero dos. But see, my Hispanics, I love you guys. I'm translating. The country's getting Mexican, Yeah, I'm learning. We're all gonna have to speak it someday and like talk and taco.
Miami, everyone speaks it here. You got to learn it.
Yeah, except for these people here are like ex-communists, so they're not as bad. They're not like coming here like
the Cubans aren't bad.
The Cubans are pretty cool.
The Cubans are pretty cool.
Just be careful with dating the women.
Oh
they're
yeah,
hot,
I wouldn't
they're
recommend
psychotic.
that. Yeah, they might stab you.
Yeah, they'll slash your tires. Allegedly, yes. It's like good. They got big, lots of things, and one of those things is their fucking anger
they're
problems.
crazy.
But on the flip side, I'm saying like, I've lived through my work being to where people have told me that what I'm seeing isn't real, and I think like sort of like where I got put on the map a little bit with the mainstream and the culture was like back during that time. I filmed those riots and I filmed this guy get like basically I thought he died bludgeoned to death, right?
Yeah.
And like with rocks and everything. And I put the video up. Of course, Trump, who was very unpopular at the time, got a hold of it, spoke about it on his speech the next day. And it was like his first speech on the Black Lives Matter stuff and the riots and the rallies. And he like used my work as the foundation for why we need to be against BLM. And I realized like, holy shit, like I am stupid and just this random guy. And, I've never fit in anywhere. I've always been weird. I've never really like made an impact anywhere. And now because I was willing to like go against a narrative, because I thought, somebody needs to go show what these guys are doing because the media won't show it. I know a lot of people soon, latched on and saw how big that kind of footage got and then wanted to go do it too. But I genuinely mean my motive was just like, I want to go see what's really happening and show the world. I didn't know it would blow up like 30, 40 million views, and when you first start, in social media, you get blown away in the beginning. You're like,
no, that's crazy.
40 million
gone viral
views
before. You're like, whoa, that's nuts when you see those kind of numbers.
Well, yeah. And like people can go viral now on X, which was Twitter. But back then, like Twitter was fully like controlled by the machine.
Yeah, I was suppressed until Elon took over.
That's what I'm saying. You didn't get to go viral unless you were CNN or something. Like you couldn't get 40 million views on a video if you're like just a Joe Schmo. But then like I think the crazy part back then I was verified on Twitter. That's the secret. I was verified.
Got that verification
when it mattered because I worked for a real like media company.
Yeah.
But they didn't know that I was literally Hitler reincarnated. No, I'm totally joking.
We can talk about that later.
I'm totally joking. But like no, but it's funny because I kind of snuck my way in. I have, I'm very loyal to my people, very loyal to my country, very loyal to like, that's what got me into this. Originally, when I woke up in 2008 was like, I didn't want to see white people getting shit on.
Yeah.
And so, they let me in because they say, oh, gay Jew, come on in.
And, oh, he's white, goddamn.
And then they don't realize that like what I really care about is everything that the establishment doesn't like. And so as I sort of like kind of put in the work, you know, like, I mean, if people want to know, it's like I filmed the Kyle Rittenhouse shootings, like that was there.
Oh, wow.
Filmed the January 6th, the first violence, been involved in the impeachment hearings, everything. It's ridiculous. And, you know, that's led to a lot of, you know, people be like, oh, he's a Fed or something. Like, how do you know where to be? I go, dude, it's not that fucking hard,
Yeah,
dude.
you know where the riots are going to be.
Yeah, it's not that hard. Just go film. But all I meant is like, as I look at it all now, and it does really blow my mind how no matter how far we go down the road, that everyone's still just as fake, retarded. Everything sucks. And now I was against the Democrats trying to expose them, and I just realized, you know, while the Republicans are a bit better, some Republicans, it's a uniparty, man, and they're both just gonna snuff you out if you go against the wrong things, and they both intentionally don't cover certain things to control narratives.
I've been pretty much pushed out of both. I thought I was part of the far right, you know, the dissident, free speech, anti-war right. But then October 7th happened, and I realized Republicans, they're pro-war, anti-free speech if it's for Israel. That was disappointed. I want to circle back real quick to Antifa, though, because that's actually how I got involved in politics.
Really?
I was completely ignored politics. I didn't have a TV for years, didn't really follow any internet. And I was out, you know, hanging out in Berkeley with some girl, just grabbing dinner. Come outside, and there's just like riots all over the street. There's some guys on the ground just getting beaten bloody, covered in blood. So I ran up, and there's like, you know, 10 Antifa people circle. But even around them, some of them are literally women. So they come charging me. I think. So I start throwing them. One of them I didn't even know they have masks. One of them was a woman ran up me, dropped her, dropped another dude, like dropped three of them. Because the person like, he's a Nazi, get him. But as soon as I dropped three of them, they're like, oh, never mind, he's not a Nazi. And since I started talking to him, I grabbed the guy, threw the guy into some Middle Eastern guys, helped me pulled him into a store. And they locked the door, and the guy's like, knock the windows out. And someone goes, wait, that's a Middle Eastern, or that's a color person store. I never heard this stuff. Don't knock it out because it's a color person store.
No,
like,
person of color.
So yeah, like
you're
what?
racist. You can't use that. You can't say color and then person because then that's discriminatory.
Person. But this was just so insane to me. I'd never seen anything like this. So then people were getting beat up all over the street. So I fought a few of them. Then I ran out, you know, and I found a couple cops. I'm like, guys, I need some help. There's people getting beat up. And the cops like, oh, we can't go in then. I started arguing with the cops, and they said they had stand down orders from the mayor. And I had no idea this stuff was going on. It was completely mind-blowing to me. And then I started seeing more and more Antifa stuff. And then a lot of my liberal friends just kept defending them. And I would just get so pissed because I'd actually dealt with them. I fought them. I really wanted to go back to Berkeley with like 7 fighters and just beat the hell out of 100 of them. Probably got hate. I'm probably good I didn't, because they cannot fight. If I would have gone there with like 5 fighters, like Nick, Nate Diaz, Gil Melendez, stood back together, we would have beaten the whole Antifa.
Well, yeah, I think the reason why they didn't get a lot of traction too was because they were white as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think people want to accept the fact that a group of white, and you know, they're white and Jewish, by the way. I don't know if you know this, but I don't know if you ever seen like the some of the most popular videos about Antifa. You guys can YouTube.
They're originally a Jewish group, right?
Well, yeah, I mean they're communists, right? Like Bolshevik, you know, in their mentality. So it comes from like a Jewish background, and you know, all the power to you guys if you want to do that stuff. But the whole purpose of this is like, you know, I remember seeing the original video like in 2017. It was like, we're gay, we're Jewish, and we're Antifa. And it was like really fascinated me. It's like, what does that mean, right? And it's this anti-fascist stuff. But I don't think people really wanted to pay attention to it because the focus was on blackness, right? Yeah. And everybody needed to step aside, right? Put your knee down, and you know, you had to stand up for George Floyd. And even people that were in wheelchairs were standing up for George Floyd. What the hell is that mean?
They had to kneel on the ground for like 8 minutes with their hand up. I think those white people should be put away too with the homeless.
Yeah, I like that's like it was. I was turned off by blowjobs that whole year because it was like I don't even want to see people kneel anymore. You know what I mean? Like this is gay. You know, like because like it was just a virtue signaling cuck fest. And the problem is the same people that cared about that also cared about COVID, cared about everything else. And I think that, like, I was going to say back to that story in Dallas is when I put up that footage and it went viral, what blew my mind was within a week, a universal paper came out of Harvard University, and it diagnosed what set off the riots in the country. And it blamed me.
Blamed you?
Yeah.
It's your fault.
Joanne Donovan, who is a professor of right-wing, I mean, she studies political extremism. And it was widely accepted paper, said that my video in Dallas inspired copycat riots, and that my footage inspired people because of the way I framed and selectively manipulated it and edited it. You guys can look up the study. And this is the same universities, right? I think Harvard and Yale, that also got them to demonetize everyone on YouTube a couple years earlier. And this is what the universities are doing. They're writing papers on extremism, sending them to the big tech companies,
And get them to cancel.
and then getting them to
people
cancel
people like me and you.
Yeah. So they were saying that people were dying and cities were burning because I filmed someone die in Dallas, and then it, made Trump speak, and it stoked anger. And I thought, you know what? You looking bitch. Fuck you. You know what I mean? Say it to my face. And she's ugly, man. She looks like a blood clot, just gooey. And she looks like she smells like cheese. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's disgusting, awful people just trying. They say you're stoking it, but they're the ones causing the problems.
Yeah, they're stoking it. They aren't getting any real action. It's like
they're a dying breed, though. Like independent media is taking over. Like no one's listening anymore. Thankfully, some people are, but less are.
But dude, you know what? I don't know if you want to go down this route, but what sucks about the independent media is the independent media is becoming the mainstream media, and they're getting just as like I watched this transition from like independent media was like cool, and now independent media is still like now there's a lot of money in it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, I can't have that person on.
Is there a certain topic that you're not supposed to talk about with most of the right-wing media?
Yes, it is people who eat matzah and kill Jesus.
Yeah, because I noticed people seem to not want to talk about a certain topic or talk about it in one way.
Yeah, you can talk about it, but
If you praise them.
But it's a religion, so it has to be in a certain way. And this is why you can almost duplicate this. Like it's sort of like the difference between making love and fornicating, right? Like fornicating is about lust.
Yeah.
Right. And making love is about like devotion and connection. And you make love with someone that you truly, truly love. You sacrificial love is what creates the making love. But obviously lust and fornication and fucking, I mean, it can be just as fun or even more fun, but it still lacks the long-term value, right? In this kind of stuff. And I feel like it's sort of like that with everything that you talk about is like, you really have to be genuinely sold out and really support regime politics. You've got to make love to this stuff. You've got to post about it to this day, randomly post people who died on October 7th. And you can't just be like, oh yeah, it's terrible. It happened. You got to be like, it was the worst thing. You've got to go all into the point where you're crazy.
Was the Holocaust. That was by far the worst event in human history. Let's be clear about that.
Yeah, the Holocauster.
October 7th is the second worst.
Yeah, actually, the world's so I raised my hand when I was in evolution in college. They were like, the world is 10 million years old. And I was like, oh, actually false. And they're like, oh, it's a creationist here. I go, no. The world started in 1939 during the Holocaust. And then we all fell asleep in chambers. So not the same kind. It was like some sort of a sleeping gas. We woke up. And I think the civil rights movement was happening or something. And then women were just getting railed. And then now we're here.
Yeah, it was interesting. I wanted to do a Holocaust debate on my podcast. I mean, obviously 6 million died, but just to prove these revisionists wrong, a bunch of revisionists stepped forward. It was hard to find a regular historian, but then I finally found somebody, and then he was threatened to be fired if he did the debates. They won't let him come on and even defend it. Don't want the topic debated. One of the guys that was going to debate it for me, I think he'd done like 4 years in prison for doubting it. They literally threw the guy in, fortunately I can't think of his name right now, but he literally threw him in prison, and he was going to go debate it again because he think a German citizen. And the other guy, he said, oh, they'll fire me if I debate it. So you can't even like have the debate, even if you're defending it.
I know, but if you master debate on OnlyFans, you can, do whatever you want. You can sell your soul and your body. But it's like, I know I had this guy, Ron Unz. Do you know who that is? Historian.
Familiar, we're not sure.
He's a historian as well. He's Jewish actually, and he studies history.
Yeah.
Because I know some people don't think that, but there's plenty of good Jewish people out there, and I don't know why people don't understand that. There's plenty of shitty white people out there too. I just think like there's a lot of questions to be asked about those topics because like there's plenty of good black people, but also it's why do they commit so much of the violent crime when there's such a low percentage? You've heard of my friend sent me something today. It's like with the question about Jewish people, it's like you've heard of 1350, but have you heard of 233, which is that like 33% of like white collar crimes are committed by 2% of the population. So, and then when you go up to like more egregious white collar crimes, it's higher. I mean, think about even Bernie Madoff, SBF, all these guys, even recently the crypto scam. There's all,
and lots of them get away with it too. Lots of them don't ever
they
go to
get
jail
off the hook, or they're in house
they are
arrest.
the most connected. And it's
right.
Again, it doesn't, like I said, some of my best friends, people are always like, oh, you hate. No, I just don't think they should be dominating their government through APAC, ADL, all these scammy organizations. And I don't love it. I'm not bowing to I've been there. I don't think it's some great God country. They're not God's chosen people.
No. And I think it's like, I mean, look, do I hate? No, I mean, I shouldn't have paused. I mean,
That was a long pause.
no, I know. It's horrible. What I mean is like, do I hate? It's like, do I hate any blanket group of people across the board? Like, I'm like thinking like, no, I mean like I don't think there's any way in any of my heart I could ever just think of like an entire person and just be like, I hate everyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like the truth of the matter is in the middle of all this is that you go, okay, so I don't hate anyone, but fundamentally speaking, why should I not be allowed to criticize trends in groups? Yeah, I don't hate anyone, exactly, right? There's no group of people that I look at and I'm just like, wow, I don't like all of you. But what I do hate more than anything is that, these things are used as a deflection to not be allowed to talk about serious critical issues. And the reason why I bring up a lot of times Black people and crime and these sort of like, conniving grand schemes is like, nobody thinks like the problem why you can't attack the crime issues is because every time you go to attack it, what do? They call you racist.
Yeah.
Anytime you try to get honest about women and, them being not designed and built to vote because they're not, that's their willpower.
We agreed that they definitely shouldn't be able to vote.
Yeah. And their
insane
mindset is they're not one to think of things in terms of objectivity and long-term planning. A lot of it's on feeling and narcissism and emotion and the way you want the world.
We need that quality. We need the quality around us, but they shouldn't be voting. I
want you to decorate my home. I want you to do some other things with my, life, my body. I want you to, want to go to some nice dates. I want you to be a nice companion.
Yeah.
But I don't want you making hard decisions about whether or not we should kill all the homeless people.
Exactly. Like just a man's job to lead in both their personal life, and
but you get called
regular
sexist,
life.
right? And it's like, it's always the guys that are the most pro repealing the 19th that have the most women around them or have like the best lives, the most wealthy guys. And because they get a thing or two. It's always these liberal,
the feminist women are always going after the conservative guys. It's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, exactly.
I live in San Francisco and New York, and all these liberal feminist girls are like, oh, that guy's an asshole. I guess I like him. Not an asshole. I speak truth. Yeah. Everyone else is like, yeah, baby, you're feminist BS.
Well, I mean, you can go to a black guy and get a, you can become like him. You get a, soon the rest of your body might follow suit. But it's like, I'm saying like people deflect on this stuff where you're going, dude, we need to have a real conversation because if I want to repeal the 19th, it's that I actually love women more.
Yeah.
Because this world, maybe I want you to be able to walk down the street at night safely. Maybe I want you to be able to be able to not have to work, right?
We want criminals in jail. We don't want immigrants coming through like countless.
You want like one income.
We want the homeless rounded up. We want all things that women won't do.
But I'm saying like, but it's out of love. You're going, no, because then they're like, well, I want to work. It's like, well, you want to work fun jobs.
Maybe you should take care of the kids and like
exactly.
the family.
Why is everyone so fucked up? And it's like, well, kids are like raised by the
parents
state.
raising them, yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. So it's like with the Jew stuff, it's like, oh, so you hate. Look, let me just place it like this. I want to figure out what the hell's going on with these because I think the Jews are not involved in this stuff, which is probably the majority of them.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely the majority of them. But they're brainwashed. I think most of them, are brainwashed by from a young age, they're taught we're a victim. No other separate word of a race that has a word for racism. It's just racism. They have their own word for it. If you look through history, never once will you see anything where they've done anything wrong. They've always been the victim. So history's almost been rewritten. What they've been kicked out 1,030 times.
6 million.
There's zero reason they've never once done anything wrong. It was always just anti-Semitic.
Yeah, but like the argument with this stuff is why people are afraid to talk about this. You're 100% right. But I'm saying like what I want to say is the reason why oftentimes people start hating. There's the reason why people oftentimes hate Jews. It's the same reason why blacks can get annoying too as a general group to me.
They talk in movie theaters.
Well, yeah. Be quiet. A black woman is speaking. You're like, ma'am, could you please just watch the film? But no, it's that an average is used as a shield to protect the shitty Jews because like they're NPCs. And so you want to go after, I mean, of course, if you're Republican, you're okay with criticism of Soros. But like, I was watching like Pompeo and stuff on TV today on Fox defending going to Israel. Like I hate all these Israeli activists and people trying to, in our government, trying to extract money, the RNC. And if you go after them, remember Shabbos Kestenbaum, the gay Jewish guy from the RNC?
I'm not sure.
Thankfully,
I don't.
Shabbos Kestenbaum. That is a Then I started looking at foreskins on all of a sudden. I saw this came out, it like started infecting me. No, but I was like, that's a really, really crazy name. These kind of people who like he got everyone to cheer at the RNC for suing Harvard for discriminating against Jews. And it's like, while I want to be happy for you,
they like to sue.
Yes. They love suing, and they're suing a Jewish president, by the way, but they love doing this. But universities have been factories of anti-white ideology since probably the late 80s, maybe mid-80s. And no one's scared. They don't have any guys going up. And if you want to add Jews into that, we really were a unity party, and it was like we're really fighting for blacks and Jews and women and men. Okay, maybe I can be a little more on board while I might disagree. The fact is that, like, white people are completely ignored. And it's like, well, you're a victim? No, I'm not a victim. I pay taxes, and this party is carried on the shoulders of white votes. And the parties pander to everyone, and then our party fights more for Israel, and they care more about it. They called it precious, like precious ally, the country we love. And America's just whatever. Like, we like it.
They're our top spy. They spy on us more than any other country. They take more money from us. What do they give us in return? Nothing. They offer absolutely nothing to us. They just take. They're a parasite.
Yeah. Well, and but you have a friend, Sean Strickland. He came out. I mean, I'm not gonna make you get into drama with.
I like Sean. We can disagree.
Okay, yeah,
because my podcast.
Because he came out today, right? And and he was talking about how like not bad, and then Fuentes commented like Israel actually is bad, and like ratioed the shit out of him. And what do you think about that?
I haven't had a good sit down conversation with Sean, but I've bantered with him a little bit. But I want to have a good sit down with him. We'll try to invite him to my podcast. Hopefully he'll do that, because we're at the gym together all the time and we talk shit to each other like in a friendly way. But I would love to get him, and because I strongly disagree with him there, so I want to hear his stance.
Well, yeah, and also it seems like he's always getting in trouble with someone's always trying to set him up just because of his views on like women and stuff like that. I mean, he's a typical guy, and that's what they hate.
Yeah, because he just says whatever's on his mind, which is what we love about him too. They hated him so much, but he got popular. I don't think
he's rich now, right?
He's making a lot of money. He's rich-ish. A lot more than an average person. Is how you define rich, but he's doing well. But
everyone's doing pretty poorly these days. Like,
it's rough, man. So I'm doing pretty well, but I see these prices. I don't want to pay for things sometimes. I couldn't imagine if you're like middle class or lower middle class seeing these prices when you walk in. It's like freaking, at the airport, like $10. Grab some cheese, like $10 for a tiny little bag, and like $7 for a soda. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, okay, and that's okay. Someone said, well, can Elijah go through a show without connecting everything to G? Maybe, but I could connect that to G. But I
the money printing.
The money printing, the Federal Reserve, right? I mean, you even saw the El Salvadorian president, who's like a dictator, and I like him. Yeah. Bukele, he was, talking about how the fact that I don't know if you saw, he went to the CPAC for the Republican Party,
really?
The Conservative Action Committee, and I put it up on my Instagram today. You guys should follow. It's at slightly-offensive.tv. You can find me on all social media, Slightly Offensive or Elijah Schaffer. But the show's called Slightly Offensive. You should watch it and you should support this podcast. I'm just calling out for you because you didn't tell anyone. Like the video, leave a comment, make sure you manually share. That really helps hitting that copy link.
I gotta start learning to do this part.
Yeah,
I'm brand new to
podcast. Do all that shit. You know what I mean? And like manually send it to people, because this will be suppressed because he's not. We know there's no drag queens.
Yeah. So we're not big fans of the trans.
No. We fucking hate them.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend like I think it's fucking normal to have like dudes running around in dresses. Most of it's a weird sexual fetish. We're supposed to be like, oh, you're so brave. It's like, no, you're a freak.
Yeah, well, exactly. We can talk about who's going to the homeless encampment. That's what we gotta stop calling them camps. Call them homeless encampments. Who are we sending to the homeless encampment? The trans.
Go with them. We'll put that to the island.
Exactly.
We'll call it Homeless Island, and it'll be a good reality show.
But
I'll watch it.
Like I'll watch it too, because
I rarely watch TV, but I'll watch this.
We'll see who's gonna go there, because maybe this next group, because he stood in front of them, the entire like Republican Party, and was like, "Do you know what's really wrong with your country? Is the people who control your currency." And he like goes into this for like 2 minutes. It's like your currency. I'm putting words in his mouth, but he basically said without saying it, your currency there's no value. It's propped up and printed by people who are not actually government officials, who are holding your country hostage. And because people know around the world that your money has no backing, the way that they keep that backed is by being involved in wars overseas and your money's basically backed by military force. And the moment that you somehow stop that gain of military force, the scam will end and your civilization will collapse because of those people who are printing your money. And he called them the money printers.
But it's obvious who he's talking about.
Yeah, he knows. He just went through a golden age.
Yeah, well,
you know?
I was just watching. I wasn't really following Venezuela, but I saw all the worst people were the ones trying to get him overthrown. That's why I knew something was off. I'm like, okay, the people that are the worst people are trying to get this guy overthrown. So that's not a good thing.
Okay. You know Jackson Hinkel, yes?
Yeah. I just met him yesterday to interview with him. So he was
okay. Was it for his show or your show?
For mine. Yeah, he's a very likable guy. I don't agree with him everything he says, but very interesting. Had a great conversation with him.
He's a Chad, you know. He's a handsome bloke.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got a lot of money.
I'd be like, oh, this guy's cool.
Yeah, and so it's almost like a scary thing. I text him, talk with him too.
Yeah,
but it is a little bit frightening because he is a self-identified communist. Okay, MAGA communist, which I think
a
is
little strange.
bullshit.
I talked to him about it yesterday, but
I think it's bullshit.
I was, maybe could have pushed back a little more. I was really respectful for him because he's a nice guy.
You're not a political guy. You're a fighter.
Yeah, I let him explain like his position because I'm curious of like what the fuck's MAGA communism.
I mean, it probably gets him a lot of pussy. So.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
And some of that probably comes with women who don't wear deodorant and because they're into that shit. Now he gets hot girls and stuff. So whatever. Guys do all types of things, but it's interesting because I don't think he's dumb. I think he's a smart guy.
Oh yeah,
he's sharp.
I thought he was really smart.
Yeah, and I totally disagree with his
likable and
bullshit,
stuff too.
On the communist stuff. But I'll go hang out with him and talk with him or whatever. That's what's crazy.
Yeah, you should. I'll connect you if you want. You should interview with him. He's
great guy.
Great guy. You'll
like him.
Even though I disagree with him with some stuff, you'll like him.
Well, what the fuck was he doing in Venezuela? I mean, like, what's really going on there? Because he was in Venezuela talking to Maduro,
crazy,
and I was like,
right? He had an interview with
doing
him.
There?
I think he's supposed to do a longer interview. He had like an hour interview set up. Then the whole craziness went on.
Yeah, probably
he said some guys come in, thought looked like they were trying to kidnap him. They're looking for him at the
CIA.
hotel.
He said was trying to.
Yeah, who exactly it was, but it sounded pretty scary. If dudes are looking up for you or coming to your hotel in vans looking for you, get the hell out of there because they don't have anything friendly planned for them.
No, I know, but I'm saying like the Venezuela thing, I don't understand because, like, it is confusing to me because they also hate Iran.
Yeah,
and we've toppled almost all of the countries that they've hated.
Libya, did you see Libya? Like he said Israel assassinated JFK, killed Gaddafi from Libya right before we killed him.
Well, I know we killed him also too because he was gonna like change.
He was starting the gold.
Currency
again. The currency printers didn't like that.
That's what I said. That's also back to the same people,
the
right?
Gaddafi thing was weird. It was just they kind of just randomly bombed him. Like, we killed the wrong guy. Yeah, people treated him great for the most part, and
that's the nicest country in Africa.
That's for all the refugees now. They come through and go to Europe through there.
Yeah, the pipeline. But Libya was the most stable. They had like free healthcare. They got it was better than the United States in terms of the programs they had. Yeah. I mean, you get money if you had children. You wouldn't pay taxes after having so many kids. It was a very functional society.
So was Iraq. Buy homes and stuff, even and all this stuff. Yeah.
Have you seen Iraq in like the 90s and like
a little bit? I need to do more. But I remember seeing some old Saddam Hussein interviews, and he's making so much sense. I need to go back and rewatch them. You're like, wait a second, this is not what I was told.
Well, it's all like into Iran
in our head. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying with the Venezuela thing because like the only power in the region that was checking Iran was Iraq, right? They have one of the most famous retarded wars in history.
Yeah.
Where over 500,000 died and then no one gained an inch of ground. That's crazy. But, those Arabs, they like to war. And the issue is like, then we toppled Saddam Hussein, but there's still no evidence on why we did that.
No, they tried connecting it to 9/11, which he's the opposite type of Muslim. I forget which is which, but with the Sunni and then Shiites, he was the opposite of Osama bin Laden. So clearly he wasn't involved with that. Then they said weapons of mass destruction. None of those were found.
How fucking brain dead or brain rot did it make you feel? Like, I feel like obviously I grew up and I hated Muslims, right? And I still don't think Muslims should be in Western countries in high concentrations. Yeah. I still don't think so.
I like Muslims, but they shouldn't overcrowd them in our societies.
Correct. I think we need to have Christian nations, and I want to clear that up. And I think that, previously Christians and Muslims have been at war for territory. I know Turkey belongs to us, but anyway, they turned our cathedral into one of their biggest mosques, and that's what they like to do.
Yeah.
So I won't go down there, but I learned to hate them and care about terrorism. And then when I find out that that Osama bin Laden is a CIA asset and was is like you see him in suits and stuff, and he's like a freaking hippie, and he's from the United States, educated here and everything. And then they show pictures almost like that guy who stabbed the three girls in Southport or whatever, and then they show him like as a kid, like he's this like smiling
looking
kid,
all sweet and innocent.
Yeah, or they do that always, like he was a student, and they made a Osama bin Laden like he's this crazy like guy, and I think even when they caught him, they said they found like child on his like hard drives, and it's like even that's like okay. so you found this guy and he's also like, he's the biggest terrorist in the world and also happens to be into child. Like, this sounds like you're writing a character, like a villain arc here. And then they never showed us the body. They had to dump
They
it at
dropped
sea.
it within like a few hours in
Yeah,
the sea.
in
Like,
the
oh, we
sea.
killed him. Here, it's drop it in the ocean. A little suspicious.
Well, it's not, I don't think they killed him.
Yeah, the thing is, he also, when it first happened, he said he didn't have anything to do with 9/11 for the first couple of years.
Yeah, he did. I say all this stuff, but my point is I don't think anything's real. And I think that like all of this stuff is where I look at the 90s. I forget who it was. I think it was the prime minister in Israel talked about like the need to stabilize the region, and they needed to like take out Yemen and Libya and Iraq. They basically want to check all these powers, and that's all the countries we've been at war
They
with.
named a bunch of them. We've already gone to war with them. Iraq,
We still have to,
Libya,
and still have Iran.
Iran's on the list. There's a couple more. Syria, but we've
Well,
been trying.
Syria-
We've been trying to go to war with Syria.
We've
They
been trying to
tried-
take out Bashar al-Assad.
Yeah.
Remember that too? He's gassing his people.
that gas attack was faked. You know that?
That's
that,
what I heard.
That was staged. There was no real gas attack there.
You know, my buddy's in Serbia right now, and Serbia is a Russian ally, right? And you know, he was telling me how in Serbia, you know, everyone's white and racist and xenophobic and like, you know, are all like basically talking about, you know, trying to take back, you know, you can look at their history, right? I mean, they don't really like Muslims very much. And it's really interesting that like we aren't even taught anything about these Baltic nations or the East or anything. Like our history gets us just focused on Jews. And we're so not taught about whiteness and greatness in our history. And that's why I think it's really important if you're watching this and you're a young disenfranchised man, you don't even have to be white. Because if you don't like the racist humor and jokes, if you're not white and you get getting turned off by this stuff, that's fine. You can be gay. It's very popular today. You know, but if you want to be a normal guy and just like understand the shit talking, you know, my most anti-Semitic friends are Jewish. My most anti-black friends are black, you know, and it's like the joke, right?
Definitely, my black friends are,
but my most
way more racist than me.
The most anti-white people I know are white.
It's true, and it's disgusting to hate your own race like that.
Yeah,
I
so
can't
it's like
stand those white people. Everyone should love their own race. You know?
Yeah, you should love, but you should be racist in terms of like, look, if your race has a problem, then whatever.
Call it the bullshit in your race, though.
But I think you need to go travel to these countries where they haven't been the global homo, you know, that hasn't taken over, because like my buddy was like, it's crazy because you like go into a hostel and, you know, you would see someone and there's not even all these like weird libs, you know, in the hostels. And it's like, if you're not like mad at what's happening, you're the weird guy. And you grow up, right? This guy's from another gay Western country. I just don't want to give any more details for their own privacy. But it's like, you don't realize how much you're programmed to think you're different.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of countries where it's still like this. I work with Russians. Russia's still like this, you know? And so it's weird that the countries they want us to hate, China, North Korea, and I'm not defending North Korea necessarily, but I could see how a country becomes protectionist and isolationist and really afraid of outside influence and controlling when it comes to this kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like white people from a young age, we've just been pushed and conditioned to like hate ourselves. In school, it's taught like it's totally acceptable on TV, everything to be anti-white, but not any other race. One thing too, like, well, I noticed a lot of these books coming from, probably you've seen it, like who's writing them. That was a real shocker to me. Someone sent a list of all the anti-white books. It was almost all that I thought were white. I'm like, that's interesting that they're in all the news articles. They're just pushing this anti-white hatred. And it's like, I love being white. I'm not going to be ashamed of being white, but everyone should love their race, you know? I'm definitely not racist. You know, I grew up in San Francisco and, well, a little racist with some aspects, obviously, but not really. I treat everyone equally. Tons of friends in San Francisco and New York. Most of my friends are minorities, but, you know, you should be proud of, you should be proud of whatever race you are.
Well, it's a slippery slope that I don't think people talk about, is that so racism isn't bad. Okay. So it's not bad to be racist. Because racism is a discrimination factor, which we use all the time.
Yeah, and everyone all around the world, all races, is racist.
Yeah, and you should be.
The white people are the only ones that get criticized for it.
Like if you're black and you see a group of young black guys rolling up, dressed all hood, acting suspicious, you should make a stereotypical assumption that there's potential issues, and you should probably not hang out in that vicinity unless you are loaded with a gun and you're wanting a fight. You know, and that is literally the definition of racism. Everyone's like, oh, racism means you hate everyone because of how they look. It's like, no, it's you're making actual stereotypical discriminatory assumptions about an entire group of people by the way they look.
Pattern recognition, like we've been around. If you're smart, you start to see patterns, and
that's the psyop though, is that they tell you like everyone's like, well, I'm not racist. It's like, Well, I just say I am, but you don't understand what racism is.
Because I treat everyone equally individually, but it's like
I never treat anyone poorly for just for how they look. I never treat you badly based on how you look.
But every single intelligent person I know of all races, every man at least, women are too emotional. Every intelligent man I know has racism because it's of all different races, because it's what human nature. If you're intelligent, you notice patterns and people are different. Like, I don't know if you in Brooklyn, there was this guy with his girlfriend like a year ago, 6 months ago. Tries walking by some crazy black guy, and because he was a black BLM guy, he's acted all cool, walked by him and got stabbed in the heart. And his girl just watched him die, didn't even want to tell the police on him because, I can't tell on a black guy.
Oh, that, and then she like apologized.
She was apologizing.
And she raised money for herself on GoFundMe to take time off for trauma.
Too bad that was your girlfriend. You get killed by some black guy, and she's like, "Oh, I don't want him to go to jail." These are the racist people that think black people are too dumb to do anything.
That's what I'm saying is that I want to re-educate people into understanding that racism doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a better friend, a better husband, a better father, and it makes you a better person. And it doesn't mean that you don't it doesn't mean that you're against, like, some people are against miscegenation and race mixing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're against that stuff. It doesn't even mean that somehow you don't have friends. Like, people are like, I'm not racist, I have black friends.
Yeah.
Be racist with black friends.
Exactly. I have tons of black friends. I think they respect the fact that I'm honest to them.
Correct.
All these liberals, like during BLM, like washing their feet and shit, and they're surprised that the racist guy is the one that has all the black friends. They're like confused. It's like, because I treat them fucking like people. I call them out on bullshit. I don't censor myself around them.
Well, that's also why it's like humane. It's like, I'm carrying a gun, and so if I go around that group of black guys, I'm going to kill them. And so I'm actually, by being racist, saving black lives because they're not dead because I chose to not engage. And I told this to somebody, I got jumped really badly. I had like some permanent health problems by a group of black guys, and they busted open my face at gunpoint, shot a girl in front of me. They shot a girl in the stomach. Not a good situation. Okay. Not good. I have some speech problems. I have nerve problems. I need a little plastic surgery. It was not a fun road of recovery. However, that was not even the first time black people pointed a gun at my head. But, you're in a situation like that. And obviously, I mean, I was documenting them, looting. This was during a riot. So, it's the risk of the job. You're around, you're around a pack of pit bulls is the best example. Don't be surprised if your kid gets bit. But, I look at all that, and that's never stopped me from working, with, like, I still work with one of the people I work with directly, even building my studio. He's Jewish. I work with black people all the time and whatever. I don't even care what you look like or who you are. None of that matters to me. But that night, I tell people, I had the right to shoot black kids as they're leaving, probably in the back, and there would be no evidence, and no one would have sympathy for them if some rioters got shot. I guess in that time, actually, here's the point. I realized I'd probably get hung because you're killing black people in the middle of George Floyd. So that's a whole other story.
Justice isn't handed out equally.
But I mean, like, look, I don't hate people. I even lawfully could have shot those kids, and I didn't. So, like, I'm not trying to kill anyone. I'm not trying to see people die. And if you're like, oh, so you're a bitch? No, I just, like, don't get mad when a cat meows or a dog barks. Like, black people just pointing guns at you and beating you up. It is what it is.
I think part of it is too many excuses are given. They're told it's like, okay, there's less accountability. Like in these liberal cities, they're not really getting DAs aren't going after them. Black people are doing multiple serious crimes and being released. There was a DA of San Francisco, just happened to be Jewish. He ran for district attorney. His policy was to make jails equitable. That means you have to charge. The only way to do that would be to charge people differently for race. And he did what he said. He was just literally letting black people out of jail for violent crimes. This story is so crazy. His parents were part of a terrorist organization called, I think, the Weather Underground, where they worked along with a Black Liberation Army, and they killed like 3 cops because they were trying to liberate black people. They were robbing banks and giving the guys money, and they were buying cocaine with the money. And this guy runs for DA, the same policy. He was in charge of San Francisco for like a year. He was so bad, even San Francisco recalled him. They're like, this is insane. He's just letting, like, basically, if you're black, you kill someone. He'd be like, oh, you can get out of jail. He didn't think black people deserve to be in jail, whatever, no matter what. I guess he believed they weren't smart enough to be held accountable.
And that's sort of like, that's what I'm talking about. I'm like anti-immigration. My wife's a foreigner, and I was just an immigrant in another country. It's like, don't blanket everyone. You know what I mean? Like, and I think people need to start realizing that you need to stop thinking that you're better than people because you are not something. You're only a good person because you are something. Everyone's like, I'm good because I'm not racist and I'm not xenophobic and I'm not sexist. I am a good person because I'm saved by the grace of God. And that's what saves me. Elijah Schaffer is not the best person in the world. I'm full of mistakes and errors and problems in my life. And that's fine. I never maliciously or intentionally tried to hurt anybody or anything like that. But, whatever. But it's like, to walk out and just assume, look, I'm not going to get you in trouble here on YouTube. But like,
I'm not gonna cut some of this. I have a feeling.
Yeah. But the crazy part is that when you look at some of this, it's like, there are some areas in South, Western Africa that have lower octopus, and that's
octopuses are pretty smart
to be fair.
Yeah.
To be fair. And they have 8 tentacles, right? Or something. I don't know what they even have. 8, I don't know. 10
but
tentacles.
no, the reality is there's a difference, but I'll treat everyone good and equally, 100% equally. But if someone's not a good person,
well, if you're a black guy from North Africa versus Southwestern Africa, I'm probably gonna get along with you better if you're from the North, not because of your color of your skin, but because, well, I mean, I've never really tried to talk to an octopus, but I imagine we wouldn't have much to talk to get, we wouldn't relate on many factors. We like fish, but other than that, I'm not too into much else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Something really interesting. I remember years ago, I was where I was traveling somewhere, I think like China or something, and hanging out with some black guy from South Africa, and we're talking. Somehow apartheid come up, and he goes, "Oh, it was way better under apartheid." That just shocked me when he said that. So Africa went to shit after. And there's like a black guy telling me I'd lived there. I'm just like, that was a weird thing to hear. But I guess it's just he could be honest.
Well, Rhodesia, you know about that, right?
No, what's that?
Oh, dude, that's crazy, and that's psyop. So there was another major white country. We call it Zimbabwe now. And it was like South Africa with apartheid. They didn't really have apartheid, but Rhodesia was the most powerful country in Africa. And basically it came from the British Empire. It was a perfect city. It was the #1 exporter of wheat, of cattle. Everyone knew Rhodesian beef. This is like back in the 70s, 60s. It had a standing military. Of course, the communists backed sort of like a revolution to try to take it over. And the US cooed with who to take it out, because what they wanted to do is they wanted to move into a new liberal world order, and they didn't want these nationalistic identitarian countries to exist. So they intentionally embargoed Rhodesia, a white nation that stood for the old empire. It was the most powerful country in Africa as well. And the US worked on the global stage to cut off food and weapons to the country, even though they were an ally. They were begging for help. It's kind of like when no one talked about how Russia tried to join NATO in the West, and we denied them. Rhodesia was with South Africa trying to say, hey, whatever. And then they couped him. They supplied the enemy to take him out. Then Zimbabwe, then they massacred the farmers like they're doing in South Africa.
Yeah.
And then they went through starvation, famine, and millions of people potentially died. You had Mugabe. And then they put a communist dictator. Now blacks run it, and it's a shithole, and it's fucked up. And the blacks say too, like they didn't have food for like 10 years, man. When the whites left power, they couldn't grow food, and now the whites had. They didn't know this because the blacks didn't know.
Yeah,
the whites had reverse. I don't remember the exact farming term, but they had reverse engineered the desert into fertile farmland over like 30, 40 years. So they basically made it a farmland when it wasn't. And so within like 4 years, they didn't know how to keep the farms. So now all the farms are deserts.
Oh, so running out of food, collapsing.
Correct. And this is blacks with Western money, Eastern money, weapons, everything, Western form of government. They were handed a country, and it's literally disgusting.
Yeah, the problem is you can't just hand someone a country. It has to be built up. So when they try just doing these quick transfers, it's just going to fall apart.
It takes sometimes centuries to build and only a decade or less to tear apart.
Yeah, but I mean, South Africa's a perfect example. Obviously, I don't agree with how they treated people, but you see how bad it's gotten. The crime's so bad. Also, a lot of people don't realize a lot of people in South Africa were coming there from all over Africa because it was a better economy, better work. So a lot of people like deliberately were going there for work.
Blacks didn't live there. Blacks didn't live in there. And, I don't know about this, but just build better countries. And unfortunately, our societies have collapsed. And so our societies are being held on the fringes. And the reason why I'm nervous about Western society is that our countries, the people who are holding our countries together are the ones who are demonized, which we'll talk about
guys like us
on the
demonized,
podcast about the UK stuff. We'll talk about that on my live show, which probably aired before this.
Yeah, right.
But
probably in a week or so.
Yeah. I was like, it probably aired before this, but If you want to see more of Jake, you can go. It's right here. Slightly offensive.
Jake Shields AJJ is my channel. I need to start learning to plug it.
Yeah, I was like, you'll have to do that. And then yeah, so just long story short, it's like I think we're headed down a really dark path, and until we can remove women's right to vote, we'll never really get control of things. You know, the UK since 2002, they've had cultural enrichment, right? Massive,
way worse than the U.S. because the U.S.
Yeah.
They've actually immigrated. They've like integrated in society pretty good. The Muslims here, we don't have massive like Muslim problems because they kind of became part of our society for the most part. But
brother,
Europe,
you have no idea. Actually, I will take you. I will take you to the Midwest and show you what's happened there. It is. Scary.
I haven't been to these areas. You're correct because they need.
Yes.
I'm not like against immigration. I think it needs to be done very slowly. It needs to be properly integrated into our societies. You can't just flood people over and have two separate societies living amongst each other. And that's how it is. Like in England, you have like a Muslim society and a white society, but they're not part of the same society. They're two. There's like currently, you know, machete wars and stuff going on in UK as we speak.
Well, yeah, and I'm saying, but like the crazy thing is like, okay, you know, in our culture, you know, I mean, everything is like rape, sexual assault or whatever, right? In the modern culture.
Yeah.
But these statistics are like people getting pinned down in the street and gang by like Pakistanis, right? This isn't like the, oh my gosh, we were both drunk and I regret it type of thing. This is like serious, violent, like, I mean, it's all serious, but this is like shit that will fuck you up for life, right?
Like brutal, like actually real.
Yeah, people are getting fucked in the ass by a group of Pakistanis when they're like 9 years old. Okay, this is shitty stuff. It's all terrible, but this is fucked up shit.
Yeah.
So when you're tracking like violent on the street, Poland, who doesn't have any cultural enrichment, right? They've been very strict in their borders. There are statistically insignificant variations from year to year from 2002 to now on the amount of violent. Okay. The UK has seen a 450% increase. They used to only have an average of 12,000. Now they have 67,000 per year.
Dude, that's insane.
So they have an additional 55,000 violent cases in the country, based directly proportional to the immigration issue. So, and when you look at countries in Europe that don't have immigration, they have the same instances since 2002, and the ones that are white, like Baltic nations and stuff. And then when you look at France and other countries,
Sweden,
they stopped tracking this shit because you saw it rising like 2015, 2016, and they stopped. And Australia is stopping this year. They're no longer doing racial stats because it's getting so high that it's basically like there's nothing that they can really do. So, I mean, look,
people are scared to talk about a real issue that's happening. They won't even mention it because they don't want to be called racist.
Correct.
Like
And
they have
people
the grooming gangs.
Well,
in,
people say,
England.
but look, white people, you know, kill each other and rape and all stuff. Okay, they do. And we do all types of terrible stuff. But just because 12,000 things happen doesn't mean it's like, well, let's add another 55,000 instances per year. And so like, that's to me, these kind of statistics are evidence that as the world has gotten more diverse, as our country's gotten more diverse, the world has gotten more has gotten terrible. And that doesn't mean, shout out to the sexy women out there, all colors, some shapes. These must say all shapes, not all shapes.
Maybe we should just bring hot girl immigrants.
Yeah, it's
like 18 to 22, flood them in.
For the harem. It's for the harem. It's the hot. You can be whatever color in my harem. You can look however you want, and you can join the party, and I'll build you a house, and we'll have a good life. But I look, in the end, I don't really care how people look or what's really going on, but I can tell you that bringing these shithead third world people over, you know, it does change a place. And, you know, and just thinking about this, no shit on the Cubans. We were talking, say the Cubans are great, but yeah, you go to Miami and you can't speak English in a lot of places. So
crazy. Walking around, people speaking Spanish, they don't know English. This is America.
Because you look like you could be a little like Puerto Rican or something.
I could be something. I'm probably mixed with something. I was told I wasn't white enough when I went to
having that dog.
I went out to Nick's thing, and people were like, "He's not purely white." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I never claimed to be. I never claimed to be a white nationalist.
Brother, I'm not trying to say stay in your lane. I meant you're in a good part of the world. Do not ever be phased by like the internet people. I know you're not, but it's like,
I think it's hilarious. I love this laugh. Some people eats them up when you first, when I first saw it, I've been like 20 years in fighting. When you see people hating on you, don't know. It's first time you see it, you're like shocked. You're like, oh, why did people hate me? But then now I just laugh at it.
Yeah, I can guarantee if I died tomorrow, people would be mocking me.
There would be some people celebrating for sure.
It would not just be celebrating. They'd be like laughing, and I'd be like a meme. People would be like pissing on my picture, and it would go viral. Like, I'm already accepted that. You know, if my wife died and I posted about it, I'd be getting.
They would be laughing at you.
Like, you fucking loser. Fuck your wife. I fucking smoke her. That's how it is. You know what I mean? Yeah. They make fun of when my mom died. Everyone made fun of me for my mom dying, and like,
it's brutal.
Like
but
people were like
they are, unfortunately.
filming videos, peeing on her pictures, printing out pictures, like peeing on them and stuff. you know,
Some nasty people, you know, like I'll talk shit, but that's just downright nasty how these people go. But they do, no, they do with me too. I know some of these people are just, you know, threatening to. It's just like,
and maybe I'm kinky. Maybe I'm into that shit. Maybe I was in prison. You don't know me.
yeah, right.
You don't know me, dog. Maybe I. Yeah, that's one of my favorite quotes from Andrew Tate when they're like, he's a human trafficker, he's a rapist. He's like, I am, and so what? Watch out, you know. Then watch out, buddy.
Right.
You know, if I am, then don't fucking talk shit because I'll fuck you up. You know, so like,
you don't want to get raped after you get fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's a gay fan. I rest my case. That's all I've got to say, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I guess we should wrap this up soon because we have another podcast to do.
Yeah,
I could easily go another hour, but
Me too.
We'll do another one soon. Maybe me, you, and PD will lock.
Yeah,
on
we
to
should
something.
set up with two
So
or
no,
three
me
of
and
us.
PD wanted to try to do a few together. So
yeah, it'd be nice. Yeah,
so we'll hit that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'll fly you out to Vegas and we'll make that happen soon.
100%, man.
So perfect, man. Or we'll come here.
Yeah. So. I think we'll be flying. I think we're building a new.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're building a new alternate connection. I was talking about this with. I'll just. I mean, I said I have nothing to say, but I mean, this is a good note to end on. Is like, you know, working on this project with Fuentes, Nico, and Myron. Now we're working on this together, and we're talking about, you know, studios and PD and everyone. As I said, we're kind of going in a direction where we all have money.
Mm-hmm.
We're all pretty much set, and we're all in a good position.
Yeah.
So we're not really needing to work together to gain money. Yeah. Of course, we can all get, if we
we
gain more money, great.
But we don't need it. That's why we can say fuck you and be controversial.
No one needs it at this point. No one needs to make any money. So what we're doing is trying to build an alliance, because if people don't want to work with us, it's not like, well, so we've got to go build our own club. It's like, nah, fuck you. I don't want to work with you either, you cunt. So we'll get together and sort of form our own alliance where it's like, we're not going to discriminate, but you just got to not be a fake.
Yeah, don't be a fake bitch. I don't care what race you are. Well, Myron, he's black.
Yeah, and then Nico's Muslim.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, you know, I fuck with these people, so you know, it's whatever. But I mean, I think it's people saying, where's the connection? Where's the alliance? Where's the community? I think it's building.
We're building it. Yeah. We're connecting together. You know, I'm good at connecting people. I've met so many different people, and it's weird. The most hate I got is going out and hang out with Nick. It's like, yeah, of course I don't agree with everything, but he's like a nice, genuine guy. I liked Nick a lot when I met him, and everyone's like, I've dealt with like mafia, Hell's Angels, drug dealers, never any criticism. Hanging out with Nick, that's the most hate I got. So weird.
Yeah. Do you say goodbye to your people, or do you not? You just end the podcast?
I just kind of just wrap it up. So check it out. Anything you want to plug, or you?
No, it's good. Just check out my Rumble. If you do want to support, go to rumble.com/slightly offensive, and then also we run an alt network called censored.tv, and we're completely alternate payment processors. We build our own servers. We've got about maybe like, you know, we've got a lot of paid subscribers, a lot of good shows. Gavin McGinnis, Owen Benjamin, Anthony Cumia, they're all there, plus a lot more. So yeah, make sure you check that out. Anyway, thanks, man. I really appreciate you having me on, brother.
Yeah, great talk.